Okay,
Yes.
I am
Hello,
going
welcome.
to share screen.
Welcome to all of you. We are in a webinar of the International Ecopsychology Society with for associates, for students of the IS school. It's a pleasure to see here people from different countries, from Greece, from Italy, from Switzerland, from Germany. And we have with us Dr. Lia Naor from Israel. She's a nature therapist and researcher who focused on the nature-based processes of personal transformation. Lia, she teaches in the University of Haifa. She combines her love for wild nature and human nature, like ecopsychology. That's the core of our work. She combines her love for wild nature and human nature and ways of knowing the center, and she has the nature-based therapy training in Israel. She's a mother of two. She lives in Israel and she teaches around the world. Not much time ago, she was in Belgium and she met with Anne. So this is for us a very special opportunity to meet our national representative, IS, born in 2006. We have now 24 nations represented, and we will meet in September 2024 in Sardinia. This year it's in Italy, so don't lose the opportunity to meet all of us personally. Okay, I'm Marcella Danon from Italy, and we have here also Clio Apostolaki, representative of Greece, and Flor Rora Morales from Mexico. And we welcome Lia Naor. This meeting, this workshop is going to be in English with no translation, but Lia will talk slowly. And usually people from Israel has a very clear way of speaking Israel. So with joy, Lia, we are with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcella. And thank you, Flor, for making this happen. And it's always just, we can talk about so many amazing ideas, but what is so important is what we actually live and do. And these connections are what I want to talk about today, because this is our future. Our values, our cultural values are what makes up our lineage and our history. And that history is based on what we're bringing into the future. So we can talk about so many ideas, but to practice them is the most important thing. So thank you for coming today and for making the time and for connecting the different countries and languages and ideas, and just bringing us together in this way gives me so much hope. So this is what we need to be doing, and I'm happy to be part of this beautiful, beautiful community. So what I want to talk about today is remembering. I love that word in English. To remember is to become a member, a member again in the community of life. And sometimes we tell people we're separated, but we're not separated. We just sometimes think that we're separated, but we're always connected. So all we need to do, it's not something new. Here we need to connect. No, we just have to remember our connections. So we're always, like Ram Dass says, we're all walking each other home. That's what we're all doing in life, to a place where we remember these deep connections that sometimes we are able to, in the modern era, to forget. And we're going to talk about how we do that today, why that is important, what the science, the new science says about this, how this can be understood, and what each of us can do to promote this as the basic notion of what health is. okay? And feel free to write anything in the chat or to raise your hand. Flor and Marcela and Cleo or anybody, help me if I don't see somebody's hand, because on my screen share, I can only see 5 people at once. And
yes, of course, Lia. I am
thank you.
paying
Great.
attention. Yes.
Great. So this can be a discussion and a connecting more than just me talking, although I have a lot to say. I prepared a lot to say. Okay, so let's go on this journey together. I want to start with just looking at this picture. Does anybody have any idea what this is?
It looks like an eye.
It's an eye. Yeah, it's an iris in the eye. Yeah, that's what it looks like close up. This body of ours, this world of ours is just so amazing. So I just want us to take a moment and breathe in just the idea of connecting and what that means. So I'm going to take you through a 2-minute visual. You can close your eyes if you want to, or you can leave them open, or you can look at this picture, whatever is best for you. But let's take a deep breath into our bodies and kind of bring ourselves from whatever we have done today and whatever we have on our mind. Let's become present to this present moment, kind of fully bring ourselves into this present moment and feel our bodies and maybe feel our breathing, how the air comes in and out. And maybe we can see where there's tension in our body. And take a deeper breath maybe into that. And kind of feel the air around us and maybe the noises around us. And settle into your seat and into your body and into your world, wherever you are. Kind of just take a moment to settle in. So we're enabling ourselves to be open to whatever information and knowledge is going to come in to our area in any way possible. And with the next breath we take, let's be aware of the fact that the only way we can breathe is because the trees are taking that CO2 that we respirate, and they are taking it in and enabling that to come out as oxygen. And the only way they can do that is because the sunshine is touching the chlorophyll, which is enabling them to do a photosynthesis. And only that is able because they are deeply rooted to their nutrients, to the water that helps them grow, but aren't we also? So take a moment to feel the water. We're 70% water. And to feel the water in your eyes and in your mouth and how we are water. And we also have roots. And we are part of nature in every way possible. So our bodies are made of earth and stardust, and our teeth and our bones are made of the same things that rocks are made of, and calcium and nutrients and minerals, and just how we are so much part of something greater than us. And we are connected to that in our essence. That is our nature, our biological, chemical, spiritual, physical nature is to be connected. So let's feel that idea and that knowledge of how deeply connected we are to this wide, amazing world. And with that, breathing back into your feet, maybe you can wiggle your toes. Take a deep breath. Let's all breathe loud together. And let out whatever we don't need for this coming hour so we can fully be here, and all the to-do lists will happen later. And this idea of what we just experienced brings me to the basic question that I think is the most important question to ask. You know, the answers are never the answers. Answers change. Questions are the way we gain knowledge. So one of the most important questions we can ask today is, what is life? And not only what is life, but what sustains life? What makes life alive? Isn't that a good question? So I want to bring you from Fridtjof Capra, the chemist, biologist, one of the most amazing people that I've learned from, who brought the web of life theory into science and has researched it for over 50 years and has written many books about it. And he says the basic pattern of life is a network. Wherever you see life, you see networks. The whole planet, what we can term Gaia, is a network of processes involving feedback tubes. Humans are part of the larger whole Gaia. Isn't that beautiful? This idea, like our brain, there's a bigger brain, it's the world, and everything is connected and everything's going do, 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 do. But you know what this means? It's beautiful, but you know what this means? That we're not independent. That we depend on each other and on everything. That we are needy. And that's something that we don't like. So this idea of beautiful networks is beautiful, but are you willing to trust me enough with your life to understand that we need each other? Everybody, even the people we don't like. It's all connected. So it's not such an easy concept, right? It's getting a little sticky here. So here you can see a beautiful diagram of how everything is connected. So like kind of what we did in those 2 minutes, you can really see how the energy, it gives the carbon dioxide to the trees and how they absorb and this is only a small diagram, but you could add so many more levels to this, of the fungi and of the clouds, and it's really never ending. There is nothing living that is not connected to something else, always, at all times, and dependent on that for life. How does that make you feel? Good, bad, scared, expansive, maybe? So basically, these interconnections are called symbiosis. And symbiosis, Lynn Margulis, who wrote about symbiosis and explains, she's an amazing biologist who brought so much knowledge to the field. And she says the whole new idea about evolution, that it's not only the strongest wins. No, not at all. She says Darwin was wrong. Who wins? Who survives? Those that know how to network. So that's why life is surviving. And it doesn't matter what we do to it, it's going to survive. Because that idea of symbiosis is what is the basis for life. But this means that if we want to live and we want a sustainable life, we need to practice a lot of things that we're not good at. We have to learn to be dependent. We have to learn to interact. We have to learn that everything we give, we take, we need to give. And we have to sustain healthy relationships. We have, as human beings, a lot of work to do. To me, that's healing. That's what therapy should be about. So Lynn Margulis says, if you really want to study evolution, go outside. Just go outside. You'll see symbiosis everywhere. So we evolved. It's in our DNA. It's in our chemistry. It's in the first pictures ever in the history of human beings. If you look at cave drawings, look at the ones I brought you. All you see is relationships. There's everything. There's the relationship with the earth and with the people and with the animals and with this all. Everything is touching everything. And this is evolution. Those who learn to collaborate were the most successful. As Brené Brown, the psychologist, says, we are hardwired to connect with others. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. And without it, there is suffering. Or Matthew Lieberman, who's the director of UCLA's Social Cognitive Neuroscience Lab, says, our sociality is woven into a series of bets that evolution has laid down again and again throughout mammalian history. These bets come in the form of adaptations that are selected because they promote survival and reproduction. These adaptations intensify the bonds we feel with those around us and increase our capacity to predict what is going on so that we can better coordinate and cooperate with them. To the extent that we can characterize evolution as designing our modern brains. This is what our brains were wired for, reaching out to and interconnecting with others. Now, as I say that, just the idea of what has gone through humanity in COVID and what a time we are at and called to do this work for. Darkness is great. There's a lot of separateness. There's a lot of loneliness. There is a lot of sickness. And to be human means to be connected and to sustain these connections. So as Gabor Mate, who is one of the most prominent professionals on trauma, says, the essence of trauma is disconnection. And the real question is, how did we get separated and how do we connect? I'm going to pause for a moment and see if anybody has any questions until here, or if anybody wants to say anything. So
No, we
you're
are
with
okay,
me, right?
Lia.
I need to know we're connected. I need to know.
Yes, we are connected.
Okay. So Mar, did you want to say something?
Yeah, hi Lia. I just think
Hello.
this is fascinating, and more than a question, it's just to kind of reiterate what you said, because I think it's so important in this world where like sometimes being dependent on others, or we're like labeled as too needy or something, and that just creates like this more and more disconnection. So it's so beautiful to go back and look into nature and see the example there, and it's just, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for saying thank you. We need that feedback. Do you know what happens to a child that his mother never looks into his eyes? There's research. The child becomes autistic.
Yeah.
We need constant feedback from each other. It's just the way we are as human beings. So this is our second big question. We asked, what is life? And how did we get separated and how do we connect? So first, it's very important to understand that illness today is a very normal response to an abnormal culture that is not meeting the basic human need to connect. So what do we want to recover? I like that word also, recover. What do we want to open up? The wisdom of connection. Now I have another piece in English to read. Is it okay? I'm trying to read slowly, but we have a recording of all this, and you can always go back and look at the bibliography from where these are from, okay? I can send it to you. So if any of you want to spend more time on what I'll be reading, and I want to read you a beautiful, beautiful source from Suzanne Simard. I don't know if you have heard of her, but Suzanne Simard is a Canadian biologist who spent her lifetime trying to understand the connection between trees. She has small YouTubes. She has written amazing books. And she even found that there is a mother tree. And the way that that mother tree nurtures the other trees. And that the trees are always, always, always in connection with one another. Whether it's giving nutrients to one another, whether it's dialoguing with one another, how they take care. These connections that the human eyes don't know how to see are becoming, are uncovered today in science. And she was able to publish her research in the most prominent medical journal called Science today. So that's a very big step. So you can also see how we have COVID, separation, darkness. But on the other hand, we have at the same time uncovering this deep, deep knowledge of life. And it comes together. It's a yin and a yang. And it's really amazing to be alive at these transformational times. And we, conscious of this work, are called to do a lot at this time. So she writes in her book, I don't presume to grab Aboriginal knowledge fully. It comes from a way of knowing the earth, an epistemology, different from that of my own culture. It speaks of being attuned to the blooming of the bitterroot, the running of the salmon, the cycles of the moon, of knowing that we are tied to the land, the trees and animals, and soil and water, and to one another, and that we have a responsibility to care for these connections and resources, ensuring the sustainability of these ecosystems for future generations, and to honor those who came before. This wisdom of treading lightly, taking only what gifts we need and giving back, of showing humility toward and tolerance for all we are connected to in the circle of life. But what my years in the forestry profession have also shown me is that too many decision makers dismiss this way of viewing nature and rely only on select parts of science. The impact has become too devastating to ignore. We can compare the condition of the land where it has been torn apart, each resource treated in isolation from the rest, to where it has been cared for. We must heed the answers we're being given. What are these answers? What is this knowledge? Ubuntu in Africa is the way they say hello. I am because you are. That's their hello. They know that. In Maya, in Lakech, the way they say hello is you are the other me. Ahomitaku Yasin, the Indians, all my relations, the American Indians. Or Questnets, we are all related. Or in Canada, Nikamat, we are one. This is the way nature-based cultures say hello. And there's so much in language about culture. Oops. So I want to propose that in our conference, we have a way of saying hello that we can bring into the world that has to do with, I see you in me. So Susan Summers says a new view of evolution evolves cooperation. This is the wisdom, strong interaction and mutual dependence among life forms. Life did not take over the earth by combat, but by networking. And our success in coevolution is only as good as the strength of these bonds. Adaptation and evolution emerge from these behaviors of connections that help us survive, grow, and thrive. So what I'm trying to do here is bring in psychology with ecology, with science, and with ancient knowledge to bring in that concept that our brains, our hearts, and our bodies can connect to in all these different ways of what this network of life means. So how is nature helping us besides showing us this wisdom that we can't always see? And here it comes to what we can do, because nature is constantly inviting us to touch, feel, experience, engage, and explore. And in this way, we're strengthening our bonds with life. We're actually feeling and touching life and touching that water and jumping those mountains and climbing those trees and seeing those sunsets. And we're making those bonds with our bodies and with our senses and with our liquids. So deep ecological awareness recognizes that fundamental independence of all the phenomena, and that we're dependent on those cycles of nature. And when we go out to nature, we're invited. We're invited to take part actively and to engage with all our senses and all our parts in what it means to be alive. What happened to my, hello? Up.
We can see it now, Lia.
What?
We can see it now.
Ah, okay.
I think you have a slide in blank, just.
I might.
Yes.
So what if we saw illness as an imbalance in the entire organism? Asks Gabor Mate. What if we applied the findings of Western research and medical science in a systems framework, seeking all the connections and conditions that contribute to illness and health? Because in so much research, people are less healthy if there are no trees around. And people are less healthy if they're minorities. And people are less healthy if they don't live with their families or they don't have communities. We can't separate that from the cancer or the asthma or what the nutritious problems that these people have. So could our ailments be asking us to be attentive to unhealthy ways of being, asking us to develop consciousness, sensitivity, genius, and awareness to the strings of life, expanding our identity and connections to the greater world? This is an invitation to remember to the web of life. And I have 5 offers of how we do this, but I would love to open this up. So the first one is our relationships. Aho matako yasin, to all my relations. Are our relationships healthy? Are we supporting caring relationships? Are our relationships reciprocal? Is there a giving and taking in them? Let's take a look on our relationships. That's the first one. The second one is consciousness and awareness and knowledge, gaining that wisdom and knowledge of these connections and actually seeking them. Whether it's through meditating, whether it's through listening, whether it's through watching. We need to bring this awareness and consciousness into our daily life. The third is actively creating conscious connections. So when we share information, or we create networks, or hubs, or communities, then we're actively creating more and more of these connections. The fourth one is activities that help us make these connections. And these can be conscious or unconscious. Take people gardening. Take people in any way to activate their senses in feeling and touching and smelling and seeing. And the last one is ways of knowing. Really expanding the ways in which we can gain information about what it means to be alive and what life is about, the deeper meanings of this. And I think this is very, very akin to what IEES is about, right? So I just went into the website today and saw the vision and mission, and it's just there. It's to spread and deepen and support and explore the interconnections and develop the interdiscipline and to promote, support the creation of networks and organize these connections in conferences and to connect and to share visions and to create alliances and to reconnect with nature and to create support. So this is what we are about. This is the vision, this is the mission. We can do it personally, we can do it with our families, we can do it with our clients, and we can do it in this wonderful community that brings life in these ways. And this was why I was late 2 minutes, because I wanted to share with you. Last week I had our annual conference here nature therapy that I had. And we had 120 people out in nature. And I see now that you can't see it, but what we'd had is we took golden threads and we threaded through the trees and through the pathways and on the rocks and through the water, and everywhere people went, there were golden threads. And I helped them through this understand and visualize that there are always threads between us. We have to really care about these connections. When you shut the door on someone or yell at someone, you can break a thread. When you turn your back to something, we don't want to break those threads. That's life. That is life. And here we made a tree of it was called what's that book? The tree book, it's an adiv. The Giving Tree, you know, where he gives himself. What's the name of that book in English? The children's book where he gives and he gives and he gives and he gives. Okay, it doesn't matter. So we had little hearts, red hearts, and people wrote on the red hearts things they wanted to give, not material things, like to give a discussion, to give to share music, and people would go around and take hearts and put hearts and take hearts and put hearts. So there was this giving and taking throughout the whole day. So it was making connections and making connections and making connections in all different ways. That was very touching. And in this way of when you are really able to feel those connections, you start seeing how everything is alive in that way. And that breaking connections, when you cut down a tree or when you shut the door on somebody, or when is not sustaining life. So there are ways to connect or disconnect that are fruitful and healthy, and ways that are unhealthy. And it really, really helps in this way to do this little intervention that I wrote. If maybe you can spend the day seeing yourself in the other. And sometimes it's not only in humans. Like when I go and touch the tree, sometimes it's what I feel in the tree, but sometimes I try to think how the tree feels me. How is my touch to the tree? Okay, I really want to read this to you, even though it's a little long. It's a beautiful poem written by Amos Oz, an Israeli writer. And I think it kind of sums up what we're talking about. He says, I have an awful confession. I am against nature conservation. The ideal of conservation is not acceptable to me in any domain in my life. We did not come into this world to conserve anything, not our forefathers' deeds or the commandments, not a legacy or culture. There is some distortion in any tradition or way of life that centers on conservation. We are not the successors of any museum and did not come into this world to clean dust from objects or to guide people to walk silently on their toes, devoted to the untouchable. We are not here to conserve legacy of nature's wonders, of childhood ruminants or holy objects, for then our lives will be worship of what is devoid of life. The world is not a museum, and nature is not a museum, and culture is not a museum. You are allowed to touch and feel. We can move, bring closer, change, and leave our footprints. Touch the stone. What is alive? One another. How to touch? If I had an answer in one word, it would be with love. Man and woman in love will touch each other, and in that way, change each other through acts of love. As parents and children, siblings, man and earth, and culture and home. But on one condition, that these exchanges are mutual. Just as you touch those close to you, or your landscape and surroundings, be prepared to be changed and touched by them. While you shape the world, let the world shape you. No place is God's museum. No person or object, alive or not. You may touch and change as long as you are willing to be touched and changed. Thich Nhat Hanh has another beautiful poem, just you are me and I am you. It's obvious that we are. So I'm ending with this, and I would be happy that we open it up for a little sharing and discussing and more ideas on how we can really, really bring alive these connections. So you can all open your microphones, and maybe I'll stop screen sharing so we can see everybody. There we go. Hello, more people I see here. So let's just open this up to what this discussion brings with it, what this deep wisdom opens up in us, and how we can take this into the world. Or if there are any questions.
Lia, you have a question in the chat from Irene. And the question is, how do we connect without over-relying on other people to provide this connection we crave?
How do we connect without over-relying on other people to provide this connection? We need to over-rely on other people. We need to be vulnerable. We need to be dependent. We need to be open. We need to be all the things we were taught that are not good. That is exactly what we need to do. We do. Our life relies on other people. We need to over-rely. We need to need. We need to be able to say we need. And I have another question here. Okay. Here's, yes, the giving tree, the giving tree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ellie raised her hand.
Yes.
Effie, hi. Thank you, Leah. Well, that was very touching, and Amos Oz is really great. Love him. Just one thing that I wanted to share with everybody. It seems that we live in an era where touching is not so much allowed, and it makes me very sad to know that even small children are deprived of this,
Yeah.
because of the fear of educators.
Yes.
About what does it really mean to touch.
Yes.
And I know it's not so sweet and doesn't have to do so much with love, it has to do with fear. But I just wanted to share with you because it's something that really bothers me a lot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that, Effie. And I want to make it worse, because
Okay.
everything that makes us healthy is put in a way that's dangerous. Everything that makes us healthy. So being out in the dark, or being learning to be alone in nature, or meeting animals, or everything is dangerous. It's dangerous to do all these things that keep us alive. And in COVID, it was so crazy that to breathe, you weren't allowed to breathe fully, and to be with people, and to go outside, and to, so it's like everything that makes you healthy was a danger. So it's important to be aware of that in some way, and to, I think that touch there is like, I think people also don't know how to breathe. That's why I'm saying that. It's the basic things, or how to eat in a way that's nutritious, or it's really so basic today. But if you bring touch, I just think it's really about consent, and it's about learning to ask, and it's about learning borders. But I think it's bigger than that. That's why I say it's learning to eat, it's learning to breathe, it's learning to love, it's learning to connect, it's learning. We have a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Artemis and Cleo raised her hand.
Yes, Artemis, it starts with an A, so we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I would like to share with the rest of the group an example of what you are saying that includes you, actually. We have met before in the Adventure Therapy Conference in Norway. Yes, so we are sharing that part of the field, and I wanted to share with the group how my
Do you
personal
know how
experience.
she knows how to sing? She's amazing.
So
Amazing.
this is exactly what I don't think I sang on that. I didn't sing, but this is exactly what I wanted to say. That it was I think the first meeting of the adventure therapy community after the COVID and all this fear and all this disconnection that you're describing, and the Israeli group, like the group from Israel, made us hug, made us sing. And in that moment, really, honestly, Lia, in that moment, I felt like my heart, like the tectonic plates of that fear and disconnect, like shifting, and I felt like my heart came at its place, and at pace. And I really wanted to share with the group, like that, how everything you describe now and how everything you theoretically say to us, you and your colleagues, you really embody those, and they were deeply felt in that instance where people disconnected came back together, and he gave us an opportunity to connect. And it was through singing, through touching the heart, and through touching each other. And it was beautiful. And I really believe, I really
Thank you.
trust this power. Yeah.
Thank you. It was such a beautiful exchange, because it was always giving and taking and sharing, and thank you.
And it was powerful. That's what I wanted to say, that it was the moment that, at least me, I came from a state of disconnect to a state of being myself in the world again with people.
Yeah.
Through
Yeah.
singing and your attunement from the whole group.
Yeah. Thank you. That also brings up, Effie, but for everybody also, that within nature, we do a lot of touching that doesn't have to be me physically, because you can hug the tree and I can put rocks on somebody. So there's a lot of that feeling that we're being touched that doesn't have any problems with it. We can really, nature helps us in that way. Anybody else? Any ideas of how we take this into life?
Cleo.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Lia. Thank you so much. The topic is really inspiring and very important to remember what is the essence of life, actually, and what keeps us alive. And I just wanted to say that I really like the point that you said that sometimes some circumstances, like the isolation that COVID put us in the previous period, gave us an opportunity to appreciate these things that we did not realize before, and gave us an opportunity generally to realize a lot of things by being outside and watch what is happening. So I really like the point that you made on this part, the realizations, and what it, for a lot of people made us see what was important and what was not. And I think that was very nice. Thank you, Lia.
Yeah, isn't that so much in life? When something is taken away, then we begin to appreciate. And what a beautiful view, Cleo, to see the opportunity in the crisis. Thank you for that perspective. So I think we're coming to an end. That went so fast.
Yes.
We talked.
You
in
was
an
very
hour,
clear. You was very clear, Lia.
So in an hour, we discovered what life is about, what we have to do, what our problem is, and how to do it, and how IES supports this whole idea of community networking, sharing knowledge, supporting, cooperating. And let's just go home and ask ourselves, what relationships can we deepen, heal, and take to a better point in our life from here?
Thank you. It's so fantastic to listen about the issue that we all like, that brought us all here, eco-psychology, from each conference, each conversation from a different point of view. It's so enriching. So thank you so much, Lia.
Yeah, that's why we need so much diversity. That's why we need, and then we only stay with people that have the same ideas as we do. It's not normal. You know, research shows that people that are intent on studying the truth will always listen deeply to people with opposite ideas. Because that's how we gain real knowledge on what is true. So I hope we can open our hearts and our heads. And I hope to see everybody and hug you in person if you want in September. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Lia.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Flor, for the organization.
Thank you, Flor.
Thank you, Marcella.
Marco, for being here, and Elena for organizing. See you. When is next appointment? Who knows?
We will announce it, I guess, shortly.
Okay, we will write it. Thank you so
It's in
much.
June. It's in June in English too, with Michael Connors from UK.
Ah, when?
Yes, and June 19.
June 19.
Yes.
Lia, we're going to have to change our appointment. Okay, we'll do it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye
once
bye, everybody.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
again. תודה רבה.